in love, at ease. All about how Swamishri was eyeless. This is Everyday Spirituality with Pramukh Swami Maharaj. This section of this chapter is called Eyeless, I Am Das. You might have heard of Ram Das. And there are many spiritual beings whose names end in Das. It's a Sanskrit word that means servant. Ram Das means servant of Ram. Krishna Das, whose music we've listened to, means servant of Krishna. I am Das. Swamishri's humility and lack of ego culminated in his spiritual articulation of servitude. This was an identity label that Swamishri proudly used for himself. Das, servant. Swamishri often described himself as Das no Das, a servant of the servants, the lowest of the low. There was a specific hand gesture he used to illustrate his place at the bottom of the totem pole. At first glance, the word Das seems dated and entrenched in a pre-modern system of hierarchy and perhaps even classism. One might ask, why or how is this concept of servitude relevant to spirituality in the 21st century? Today is all about empowerment, convenience, personal achievement, and self-worth. Yesterday was about following and servitude. Servitude on the spiritual path does not represent power structures, but rather spiritual agency, a sense of empowerment and proactive choice. Choosing to serve and submit over leading and claiming credit is difficult, but it is surest the way to get one step closer to the divine. Faith is predicated on submission. If one has faith in oneself, it suggests an understanding of one's mind and body as being capable. If one has faith in friends and family, it suggests a sense of trust in one's loved ones. And if one has faith in the divine, it suggests a submission to a greater reality or power. If one has faith in that divine creation, it suggests that one sees the universe as a reflection of its creator, of its source. If one has faith in a spiritual teacher or master, it suggests a sense of submission to a human being that one trusts to guide and comfort on the path of spirituality. In each of these scenarios, faith suggests a certain level of acceptance and confidence in someone that we believe, in someone we believe can do something for us, or even better than us. Faith requires trust, submission, and acceptance. Swamishri had that faith in God, Guru, and the divine's creation. This is why Swamishri exuded a spiritual articulation of servitude to all. Submission in the spiritual sense does not mean that one completely submits as a slave or as an indentured servant. It means one has taken cognizance of and is aware that God resides within all, and that one can serve God by serving them. Submitting to the divine through his creation is the ultimate marker of humility through bhakti and seva, selfless service and loving devotion. That's what these words translate to. Swamishri's being a das did not hinder him from being a master, builder, leader, guru, able administrator, and an impactful presence within the cultural, social, religious, and governmental sectors. Swamishri's articulation of this servitude in the form of humility stemmed from a deep understanding of the Atman, the self, and the Paramatman, the higher self, or the divine, and their omniscient presence in all of creation. This was not a performance. It was a thought, a seed, which evolved into an experience, a mindset, and eventually a consciousness. Being eyeless was his natural state of being. Swamishri did not try to become a das. He was a das who served God and his creation. To be an ideal das is the highest spiritual attainment for a bhakta, for those on the path of loving devotion. Bhakti yoga, it's called. It seems like such an abstract concept, but Swamishri made it tangible. How the concept of putting himself last, below the divine, and even below his creation, through love and humility. Though millions gathered to celebrate Swamishri, the Guru was preoccupied with the needs and compelling qualities of his disciples. Though millions offered themselves in service to the Guru, he laid it all at the feet of the divine. Though Swamishri was offered the most luxurious of objects and the highest of praises, he only accepted those offerings in his capacity as a placeholder. It was his seva, his selfless service, to do so. In his mind, none of it was meant for me. All of it was meant for the divine. Nothing I was doing was special. Many incidents in this chapter already illustrate these qualities within Swamishri, but there are three specific elements in Swamishri's identity as a das that form the core of this fundamental spiritual concept. First, he made the most of every chance to serve those around him, whether physically, mentally, or spiritually. If he was a das, he had to live like one. During the early years, Swamishri always found an opportunity to clean the visitors' bathrooms, pick up used datul sticks, and even take out the trash in the middle of the night, when everyone else was sleeping. As the years passed, Swamishri's health, age, and the size of the organization did not permit him to steal such opportunities. Even then, it was his desire to serve that came to the forefront. Several youths from America, traveling with Swamishri, found themselves in the rural village of Bhadra in 2005. Electricity, running water, and even fans were a rare commodity in the village at the time. Air conditioning in the mandir's guest rooms was unlikely. A few of the teens had trouble sleeping in the guest rooms. The rooms were probably opened only when Swamishri had visited last. The boys were trying to acclimatize, but the dust and dirt had given them allergies. Later that afternoon, they went for Swamishri's darshan, presence, witnessing, while he was having a glass of fruit juice and some fruit. Swamishri noticed that their eyes were red, and they were scratching their arms and legs incessantly. He asked, "What's wrong? You guys look like you came from cleaning the village sewers." Heital, a youth from Atlanta, blurted, "The rooms are extremely dusty and dirty. I doubt anyone has used them all year. It is okay, but we do not sleep much either because of the mosquitoes and the heat. It would be better if we had air conditioning." Swamishri smiled and silently made a mental note. Later that evening, he instructed his personal attendants to lay out mattresses and pillows for the boys in his sitting room attached to his personal bedroom. Before going to bed, he came out to inspect the arrangements. He checked to see if the air conditioning was on, and to Heital's liking. The boys felt terrible. They apologized and expressed remorse for complaining and troubling him. Swamishri replied with an apology. "Not at all. I should have made these arrangements sooner. I would have done this for you, but the sadhus insisted on doing it on my behalf." Swamishri's intention was always to serve, and since he had done it for decades, he knew exactly how to. He often instructed his own attendant, Narayanjarandas Swami, to inspect the rooms of the bhaktas in Sarangpur to make sure the hot water was working, the bathrooms had been cleaned, and the bed sheets were fresh. He always aimed to serve. And let's pause our reading of In Love at Ease there for now. Thank you for listening.